World Adventurers Club greets you once again. Its members come from the four corners of the earth, and when not adventuring, enjoy relating their experiences to their comrades. One of their number, Richard Merton, noted explorer, has recently returned from a pleasure trip around the world. His letters have already hinted of his adventures, and now his friends are eager to hear the whole story. Let us join them.
Yes. Well, Merton, you said that you had a very unusual story to tell us when you returned from your wanderings. Now, how about it?
Unusual is right. In fact, as I look back on it, the whole thing seems like a sort of crazy dream. For it took place in a lost republic.
Lost republic?
Yes. Andorra, an independent republic of some 175 square miles, with a president, Congress, and a White House, all lost for over 1,000 years atop the Pyrenees.
Andorra. Yes, I've seen it on the maps. Between France and Spain, isn't it?
Correct. The Andorran sympathies are with France, but their customs, physiques, and language are as Spanish as a bullfight. They're practically isolated from the world, since only a 60-mile dirt road communicates with the capital city, while the rest of Andorra is accessible only by small and extremely vicious mules.
We'll trust Dick Merton to always wander from the beaten trails.
Curiosity, gentlemen. I wanted to see this hermitage set on top of the world and sample its peace and quiet. When I finally arrived there, however, and I assure you the journey was by no means an easy one, I found the capital in an uproar. The pantaloon president was wringing his hands, and from all appearances, some great disaster had found its way to Andorra.
Oh, that must have appealed to you.
It did. My Spanish is bad, and to learn the cause of the excitement, I struck up an acquaintance with another adventurer, Jack Hall. He, like myself, had come to Andorra out of curiosity, or so he said. A close-mouthed individual, colorless, I thought, until that night in the house that screamed.
A house that screamed? Well, my word, is this going to be a horror story?
It is.
You shall be the judge of that, gentlemen. You see, above the valley of Andorra hung a cliff, barren and windblown. On the peak of its frowning face crouched a house, or rather a castle, since it was medieval in architecture, and so old, so gray that no one could remember who had built it. Due to its location and drafty halls, no one had lived in it for some 100 years. Occasional picnic parties would visit it, but even this had stopped. For lately, the castle had taken on an uncomfortable habit of screaming at anyone who dared approach it. The villagers were convinced that some horrible and very lively ghost had taken its abode in the castle on the rock. Hall meant to spend that night there, and asked if I'd like to accompany him.
You always manage to be present at the scene of any good crime. Surely.
I laughed at the story, too, gentlemen. But that night I was amazed to see how well armed Hall was. He looked as if he expected to meet an army of ghosts in person. He gave me a revolver. The two of us started the dangerous ascent to the castle. The night was dark, starless, and the wind whistled over the Pyrenees like the voice of the dead. Our lanterns cast eerie shadows on the trail. It was slippery and narrow, and my eyes always sought the castle ahead. For as we approached our goal, a sense of impending disaster bore me down, a sense of doom.
Keep your eyes on the trail, Dick. Plenty of time to see the castle when we're in it. We're almost there now.
All right. You don't take any stock in that story the Andorrans tell about the castle, do you, Jack?
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Then you see, I have heard the house scream.
Scream? It was probably the wind whistling down some mountain pass, don't you think?
Well, here we are anyway. We'll soon find out just what it was. Hold the lantern so I can find the keyhole, will you?
Yeah, here you are.
Yeah, I'll unlock the door.
No, I'm surprised you were able to get the key as long as the Andorrans believe the castle haunted.
Quite to the contrary. Andorra doesn't cater to tourist trade, and one way of getting rid of crazy Americans is to allow them to investigate the house that screamed. Well, so far so good. Let's go in.
Hey, speaking of screams, why hasn't the house screamed? According to your story, it should when anyone draws near.
Well, I can't answer that yet. Keep your eyes open, Dick, while I close this door.
Not a very cheerful place. But it's a relief to get out of that wind.
Yes. Let's have a look around.
I could almost believe in your ghost in a place like this, Jack. Gloomy vaulted ceiling.
Yeah. Certainly gone to ruin.
Yes. In a way, underneath the dust and cobwebs, it's beautiful. If it was cleaned up and modernized, I wouldn't mind living here myself. Good God, what is that?
Wait! Doesn't sound much like the wind, does it?
No, it couldn't be, but what on earth?
Maybe it isn't of the earth.
You mean you believe in the supernatural?
I find it hard to say what I believe after what I've just heard.
But what shall we do? Look for the source of the scream?
Not just yet. Let's see where this archway leads. Might as well make ourselves comfortable as long as we're going to spend the night here.
I don't like this place.
You laughed at the ghost down in the village.
Now, that was down in the village. Look out!
Hey, what? Oh, a rat. Your nerves are jumpy, Dick.
Yeah.
Now, let's see how this room looks. Little better. Not quite as drafty as the entry hall.
I feel as if I'd stepped back centuries. Listen. Listen to that knocking.
It seems to be coming from over here. Bring the lantern.
Awfully clammy in this old place.
Your hand's a bit shaky.
I admit it. This house is getting on my nerves. I've faced all sorts of physical dangers and thought nothing of it. And this is something different. I feel as if I were being watched.
You have that feeling, too?
Yes, it isn't just imagination. That scream wasn't imaginary, nor the knocking. I think we've come up against something inexplicable, Jack. Something unholy.
Well, whatever it is, we're going to see it through.
Well, I'm with you, don't worry. There's a horrible atmosphere in this room. An icy weight pressing against my chest.
And look,
What's the matter?
this room. It only has one doorway.
So it has. Well, that's strange.
Very. I wonder what...
Listen.
Your gun handy, Dick.
Oh, yes, but what the devil is there to shoot at? Sounded as if those chains passed through this room.
Steady, Dick. There must be a secret passage on the other side of these walls. That would account for the sound being so close.
A secret passage? Then you think some human agency is causing these horrible noises?
Wait! There it is again.
Jack, I've got to do something. Look for it, anything, but I can't stay here any longer. To be tortured like this.
Above everything else, Dick, keep your head. Act like you're scared to death, but keep your head.
What do you mean?
Never mind. Keep on talking about something, anything, while I inspect these walls. There's some good reason why there's only one door to this room.
I don't understand. Why should I
Keep on talking about the house, the noises, to cover my silence.
All right. Anything you say. You know, Jack, I used to visit haunted houses when I was a boy. God.
Keep it up, Dick. You're doing fine.
We'd go there to spend the night and imagine all sorts of things, hear strange noises and be afraid to see what caused them. And, of course, half the time the noise would usually turn out to be some alley cat.
Quick! Out of the lantern, someone's coming.
Jack! Jack, the wall! It's opening! It's opening!
Great Scott, Merton. That's no time to end your story.
Well, who or what came out of the wall?
Anarchists.
Anarchists?
Yes. It turned out that Jack Hall was really a government investigator in the direct pay of the president. Seems there'd been whispers of a plot to bomb the president's residence.
Yes, but good heavens, what good would it do anyone to resort to bombs to gain such a small republic?
None in particular, but a bomb would do the president a lot of harm. As it was the old story, gentlemen. Every government has its hotheads, men who want to change the world overnight. These Andorran anarchists thought the world had forgotten their republic. They could get away with what they pleased. But they'd started manufacturing their bombs in the castle on the rock, rigging up ghostly sound effects to keep the natives away. Well, needless to say, their plan had worked perfectly until Jack Hall arrived on the scene.
Then Hall knew what he was doing when he braved the House that screamed.
Practically all circumstances pointed to the castle. However, the anarchists were crafty, and he knew the best way to surprise them at their work was to feign ignorance. He used me for atmosphere, and I must have been perfect, for the criminals thought us harmless tourists and did everything in their power to frighten us away, until they saw Jack Hall start work on the wall.
Saw him? Why, how could they?
Peepholes. Place was full of them, and the bomb workshop was on the other side of the wall, as Jack had guessed. They'd installed a secret doorway in the wall. That was why the room we were in only had one visible entrance.
But how did you capture the anarchists?
Darkness, bluff, and their cowardice. After the first burst of firing, Jack convinced them that the castle was surrounded by police, that escape was impossible, so they surrendered their weapons. After that, it was easy.
And all's well that ends well.
Yes, but I certainly met fear face to face that night. Between houses that scream and a tiger hunt, give me the tiger any time.
The house that screamed. It takes a brave man to admit fear and still brave the peril. Don't forget that you are always a welcome guest of the club to hear of another strange adventure in a strange land.